Get your big butt out of here.
Welcome into the Fantasy Guides podcast. My name is Andrew Teuscher, and welcome in. I'm today joined here by the owner, the operator of the Fantasy Guides account, Stephen Rippey, as well as the owner and operator of the Rookie Devy Watch page on Instagram, our Dynasty Devy guy, our legend, and the one, the only Jacob Rhodes fantasy contributor to Fantasy Guides. Additionally, gentlemen, welcome in. Start with you, Steven. Get the first intro. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I got a flat tire today, about 3 miles into a 7-mile bike ride.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was as far away from my house as I could get because it's a loop. So I was on the edge of the loop, got a flat tire, had to walk it back for almost 4 miles. So
that's what you get for exercising.
I didn't get to do as much work as I thought I'd get done today because let's just say my exercise took longer than I was thinking.
Jesse, how'd your kids' game go tonight?
You know, it was about everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So, you know, baseball is a funny game that way. I think we were on a 5-game winning streak, and then we played the top team in the league and literally struck a kid out to win the game, but it was drop third strike. Catcher throws it down. My son's the catcher. He throws it down to the first baseman, lands right in his glove, then hits the ground. So the kid's safe at first. And so the game was over, right? We won the game against the top team in the league. And then after that, kid jacks a double and they score and win the game, you know?
No.
So it's just one of those things where, man, baseball is a funny sport. It does not, they say football is a game of inches. That is not true compared to baseball. It's little tiny things. And I tried to tell the kids to just be positive because it's you guys are a really good team. You know, We're at the top of the league still. They would have been in first place if they won. So they're all really bummed, but it's it's okay. We're okay. This is the middle of it's not the tournament or anything else, but yeah, my son was super bummed. So I was having to arrive as a dad in a different way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I am proud of myself of how I was able to be, because a lot of these dads, guys, I don't know, as you guys get older and become dads and get into little league sports, woof, some of these dads it is their whole life, revolves around that
King Richard
kid. And boy, they go crazy out there.
Well, have you seen the one video? I think I might have brought it up before, of the guy who goes out and absolutely roasts the pitcher as he takes him off. Have you seen that YouTube video?
I don't think so.
It's this guy. I don't even think it's real, but basically every time he walks out to take the pitcher out or talk to him to see, how the pitcher's doing, he just says something super demeaning, were your parents this disappointed in you?
Oh, I do love that. But he's funny about it. He's trying to keep his kids loose, his players loose by making fun of him the entire time.
That actually doesn't sound too bad.
No, it's awesome.
Hilarious.
It's actually really good.
Jesse, my son's still at the age where they don't care when they lose. I don't know. I'm trying to get him to care more. But he's still right. No, we lost, but we all got fruit snacks and juice boxes at the end. Great.
You got to give him something bitter and gross, raisins. You get raisins if you lose. Then I really hate it.
A lot of the leagues now aren't the way they were when we were kids. They're everybody's a winner.
Oh. No, I'm giving raisins to my first kid if she loses. We're not accepting that. What's even worse, craisins. It's a cranberry raisin. Jacob, how are you doing so far?
I'm better than someone that has to eat those. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, craisins that's no bueno.
Those were always the thing that we had in our lunchroom. And the only reason I knew they existed, not because I ever bought them, I couldn't even find them. I don't know where these kids were getting craisins from, but sure enough, every high school lunch, I'd see a box lobbed across the room and dome somebody. So they were good for something.
I don't think, I'm older than you, Andrew. I don't think they had craisins when I was a kid. I think it was just raisins.
Well, let me tell you, Stephen, what happened was and during the Obama administration, Michelle took away our yummy sugary foods. And so they had to replace them with things that were healthy but sounded cool. So craisins was really cool. And they were sugary raisins.
I gotcha.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. But today, or something that is not terrible and is great and that you guys can participate on, and Jacob was actually just telling me about, is Underdog Fantasy. Get you in on Underdog Fantasy, where you can always be a winner drafting this season, because the best thing is to draft and just pretend that you already won your league because you haven't lost yet. So you just tell everyone you had a great draft and you won, and use our promo code GUIDES, GUIDES, to get up to $100 matched on your deposit whenever you first sign up. So go ahead and do that and become a winner as always. One dude who won big time this offseason, and I don't have this on the show sheet, but definitely have to talk about this news. There was a fat, capital P, capital H, fat contract handed out just recently to one Jared Goff on May 13th. What would that be? Yesterday, because we were just texting about that. Handed out to Jared Goff. He got 4 years, $212 million with $170 million of that guaranteed. That's putting him up there in the stratosphere of getting paid $50 million if he goes throughout that entirety of that contract. So he's one of the top paid quarterbacks in the league now. Jared Goff is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Jacob, I feel like you're gonna have something incredibly pessimistic and great to say about this. So,
No, I don't mind Jared Goff, but he's a floor quarterback, that's for sure. No, he's now the second highest paid quarterback in the league. That's a lot of guaranteed money. I don't know what exactly the Lions think they're committing to with that. I feel like that was more of an emotional move than it was a business move.
That does not sound like Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
No, but I kind of disagree a little bit. I feel. Oh, are you being sarcastic, Andrew?
No, yeah, absolutely. Dan Campbell would totally do that.
No, I feel like the Lions have turned this culture into like we're taking care of our guys. You know, like we're gonna pay them. The market might say, "Oh, this guy is a game managing, maybe slightly above game managing level quarterback. You shouldn't pay him. You should move on to the next guy." And I think the Lions, in my opinion, are taking the approach of, hey, we love Jared Goff. We love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who else got paid? I feel like somebody else got paid big time there.
Penei Sewell. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I feel like they're like, we're taking care of these guys and we're hoping they'll reward us with great play. Salary cap just increases exponentially every year. So what's the real damage? So
that contract makes me think that they think that Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl, and I'm just not so sure.
Jesse, what is your... Sorry, go ahead, Steven.
No, I was just going to say, how many quarterbacks would you realistically say in the league can win you a Super Bowl right now that are like so much better than Jared Goff? And what are your chances you're going to be able to draft one? I'll let Jesse go ahead and talk, but
am I answering your question, Steven? About
how
many
your
quarterbacks can realistically... Now you've got me confused. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I saying if Jared Goff...
What do you think of Jared Goff?
Would you have given this contract to Jared Goff? Is he going to actually be worth this?
I think the interesting part for me is we had buried him. You remember when they traded him to Detroit? He had just come off of a Super Bowl run with the Rams, right? They won the NFC and then lost in the Super Bowl. Isn't that what they did? So it was interesting because he was buried. And I think for him to respond the way he has and kind of, find the latter half of his career now with the Lions and make something out of it, I think it's a big deal. So I think it's great for the guy. Can he win them a Super Bowl? I don't know. He's gotten a team there before. I think he can make all the throws. He doesn't have to be the guy to do it all either. I think the other thing that we're going to start seeing is teams where, you don't have to have Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. You don't have to build. It's the narrative around it where it's just a quarterback game and everything else. We saw Brock Purdy almost win one, So
almost.
It's like, you don't have to have the superstar, all everything quarterback. Maybe
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I think it's possible, and I think we're going to get to that era
a long time ago.
So yeah. What do I think? I don't. If I was a Lions fan, would I be excited about paying him that much money? And I'd probably not. But I think he kind of had to. I don't know that there's a lot of guys. I think that was kind of Steven's point, right? It's not like there's a whole line of guys out there to replace him that are going to be better. So
I think the guys that can win a Super Bowl that are like can carry the team on their back, I think it's a shorter list than we all think. I think
there's almost 10. I just looked.
I'm looking
that can carry their team to the Super Bowl.
I don't know that it's Lamar Jackson. I'd say Josh Allen. I'd say obviously Mahomes. I mean, I think he kind of proved that. Maybe Stroud could be that guy. Burrow could probably be that guy. But like after that, are there any guys that you're like, oh no, that guy can win you? I mean, Matt Stafford, if you want to talk, you were just talking about Nick Foles. Matt Stafford just won a Super Bowl. I don't know that he's all that much better than Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think that's the point I'm kind of making too. Is it is a shorter list now, and it used to be, just Peyton and Brady's world, and we were just kind of living in it. I don't know. I think there's going to be a little more parity. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that could get everybody there. Let's beat the Chiefs, huh? Let's quit making it the Chiefs every year.
Let me drag this into fantasy briefly, and just what dynasty wise. Like, obviously, redraft, this isn't doing anything different. He was going to be there next year. What does this do for you guys dynasty wise? He's on Keep Trade Cut. He's the QB 19. I'll read you guys the people he is right behind. So the people right ahead of him are JJ McCarthy, Drake May, Tua, and Dak. Those are the guys just ahead of him. And then the guys right behind him are Bryce Young, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, and Will Levis. And this is before we've had much time for things to change post contract. Would you guys really change anything much for him with this contract extension? Steven, I'll start with you.
You said they have him on Keep Trade Cut as QB. What'd you say? QB 19?
19.
I mean, I'm looking at our dynasty ranks. We've got him like around QB 18. I think he's probably priced right about where he goes. Now, if I have him, I like it. I like that he's tied to Detroit. I like what they're doing in Detroit. I like that he plays in a dome. And I mean,
know when to start him.
And he's been finishing top 10 the past 2 years. So just having him at QB 18, I get that it's dynasty and his ceiling might be limited to some extent. I don't know. I think it feels about right. I think if you've got him at QB, I don't know, 19, I'm pretty happy with that.
It's not going to push him up your board, though. This contract isn't really changing much for you.
No, because did any of you guys think that the Lions were going to not have Goff in a year or two?
Maybe. I didn't think they'd let it go this long. So I was kind of leaving it up there as he might not come back, but like not that he wouldn't. Like 65% he'd be back there.
Feels like the Tua situation right now. We're kind of
I think Tua is less likely to go back there than Jared Goff was to go back.
It kind of feels that way to me too. I feel like Goff's done enough in these past 2 years, going over 4,000 yards each year. I think he's gone over 28 passing touchdowns each of the last 2 years. And he's not thrown a lot of interceptions either. So I don't know. I think he's what they want in Detroit. And I think it's a good move for both parties.
Jesse, let me ask you a Debbie-related question. Is Hendon Hooker just like toast now? They spent a day 2 pick on a quarterback that is just, who knows now?
Yep. And this podcast told you, do not draft him.
That's right.
I mean, literally, we said, don't do it. That will be a waste of a draft pick. I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to be a starter in the NFL. And they placed him in a situation where, but do you remember? People were like, "Oh, he's beating out Jared Goff."
Yeah,
people were saying that. So you got to do your research, do your homework on these rookies, and a guy with a blown ACL that plays in a weird offensive system that hasn't produced an NFL quarterback ever. Don't draft him in the first place. So he was done. I told you he was done before. Definitely done now. Yeah, wasted draft pick.
I just saw an alert. Andrew just put Hendon Hooker on the trade block.
Oh, did he just?
Yeah. Hey, I got him for free off the waiver wire. I need that now.
I'm pretty sure Dave in our league drafted him, and if that says, that's not all that surprising.
He's not exactly been lighting the league on fire the first couple of years that we've gone here.
Well, speaking of roasting, that'll bring us on to our main segment of the show. Sorry, Dave. We're going to talk today about some rankings of quarterbacks and where we have them valued and running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. We're going to get through a bunch of positions. And with the Tom Brady roast was just the talk of the town. So I thought we had to somehow incorporate that into a podcast, just idea. And so I came up with this idea: toast or roast. We're going to go through various ADPs and values of players. We're going to get some dynasty talk in here because, of course, we got to include that somewhere. Jesse had that idea. It's a great idea. So we're going to talk underdog ADP of these guys, and we're going to talk dynasty value based on keep, trade, cut evaluations. And we're each going to declare all of these guys we're talking about either as toast, as in we're toasting, saying, good job, this is a great value, we like it, or we're going to roast the guy. He doesn't deserve to be there. It's bad. And obviously, we have to add some fun flair to this. So if a guy is a toast, promptly after you say it, I shall play the fun sound effect. Yay! So positive and happy. And if they are not a good value at where they're going, of course, we'll have a bad sound effect.
Roasted.
Because they got roasted. Little Michael Scott action in there for
Kind of
you
sounds
guys.
like Jacob.
Hey,
you
I'll take
always
it as a
use-
compliment. I love
Yeah,
Michael
I
Scott.
know you do.
roasted.
It kind of sounds like it could have been your voice there.
I'm in.
Shame we should have came up with this earlier, Andrew. I know we kind of did it last minute. We could have got Casey on for this one. Feel like he would have been our roast master.
He would have just yelled. He would have we put him in the top corner right there, and he'll just start yelling random things. It'll be Kevin Hart.
Next time.
Absolutely. We'll do this again, of course. So that'll get us going on to talking about our first guy. We're going to talk about a couple of quarterbacks here. And the first one is CJ Stroud. And this has been a guy that us at Fantasy Guides have particularly had a few discussions on air and off of air. He is going as the QB5 right now in Underdog at the ADP of 49 overall. So he's in that upper echelon of quarterbacks, early quarterback strategy kind of atmosphere. And at Keep Trade Cut, Jesse pointed out, number 3 player overall in Superflex leagues. So that's a value of 9,900 or 9,941. Jesse, your eyes pop out of your head when you saw that?
Yeah, the maximum is 9,999. That's as high as you can get. So we're talking about 30 points off of Patrick Mahomes, 30 points off of Josh Allen, or 60 points, I should say. Holy cow. Doesn't that seem, I mean, we have one data point on him, and I know it was very good. I know they've added weapons. I think it's okay to be excited, but what is the threshold of excitement? So yeah, for me, it's too rich for my blood. This is a roast situation. I just think it's like, if he doesn't hit, man, you're putting a lot into it. It's a little bit different with the redraft. I mean, that's not quite as crazy. QB5, ADP 49. I mean, that's maybe doable. So love to hear, Steven, how are you feeling around the CJ Stroud hype train? Placing him over players like Joe Burrow, placing him over players, a lot of really good quarterbacks below him on these lists by a lot. And I just think it's really interesting how high he's risen.
Yeah, I think people get, especially when they're doing startups and, like the GM in an NFL league is always trying to win. I feel like so many GMs in a fantasy dynasty league are trying to rebuild for years and years. So I'm not surprised that his ADP in dynasty is this high. I'm curious though, Andrew, do you have on there who's ahead of him? I'm trying to figure out of the big three.
Mahomes and Allen. That's it. It goes Mahomes, Allen.
So he's bumping out Hurts.
Are we talking about an underdog? Or are we talking about
no? You said Keep Trade Cut. He was
in
number
Dynasty.
3.
Yeah, it's only Mahomes and Allen right ahead of him.
See, I couldn't draft him over Hurts. I mean, what have Hurts has averaged over 22? Just 2 years ago, wasn't he around 24 points per game? Last year he was 22 points per game. He's going to rush for 600 yards. That's the thing I don't like about Stroud. This is a roast, by the way, for his dynasty ADP.
Yes, roasted.
Question.
He's
a pocket quarterback that it was great last year. Threw very few interceptions, only threw 20 some touchdown passes. Now I like his redraft ADP. I think QB5 is fine. I don't really have a problem with that because I do like all the weapons. But Diggs is on a 1-year deal, and he's just not going to give you that dual threat. These pocket passers can be very finicky year over year. Whereas with these rushing quarterbacks, it's sticky. So, I mean, I don't have a huge beef if you want to take him QB4 in Dynasty. I'm still probably going to lean Lamar because I still think Lamar is going to give you a bit more of an edge. I get it a little bit with the age if you want to compare him to Herbert and Burrow, but I don't know. I don't love it for Dynasty.
What are your thoughts there, Jacob?
Dynasty feels really rich. Quarterback 11 in points per game last year, which we would expect a jump this year, but we're talking about an astronomical jump to meet the expectations that are set for him now. And
Jake, sorry, keep going.
Redraft it just seems too rich for me. I don't think it's a bad price, but I would rather wait a couple more rounds and take Kyler, who's at QB8 right now. It just feels like more upside and a similar floor there with a rushing quarterback.
I don't know, guys. We're all kind of roasting here. This feels dangerous, Andrew.
Man, he has to throw 40 touchdowns for him to pay off his ADP. Like it is a must. But his receivers are Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. So it's like, could he do it? Absolutely. But he has to do it. Like the margin for error is razor thin I have been going through some projections, really working through those, and I need to up his touchdown total. But if he has a season of 4,600 yards and 31 passing touchdowns, that's a good year, right? That would have been top of the league in touchdown passes last year. That lands him at what is projected to probably be the QB7, because guys like Dak have a little bit more rushing upside. Anthony Richardson, Patrick Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar, Allen. I don't hate it. In redraft, I can get with it, but in Dynasty, I'm right with you guys.
Boom, roasted.
Well, let me real quick. One thing that I did look up before this is, let's just think about Justin Herbert and remember his good rookie year. He averaged 22 points per game compared to Stroud's 18 points per game. To kind of like give you some comparison on how good CJ Stroud's rookie year was, I feel like people think Stroud had like a historic rookie season. It just feels that way to me. Like
I think it's a perception thing. I really do. And he's great, and they're adding weapons, and the market is overcorrecting, in my opinion. And you know, you bring up Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's getting 7,648 points on keep trade cuts. So you're saying that CJ Stroud is over 2,000 points more important, you know, to your dynasty team. I mean, that's a big time player. 2,000 points. You're getting a pretty decent player. So I think he's a sell for me right now, because is he ever going to be that high again? Like, that's about as high as you can. He is the highest player you can get right now. Is he going to be the number one quarterback in Dynasty? Do we think he could be that? I don't think so. So it's like, I think you get all 9,000 of those points right now. If you can.
You sell on that if you can get that value, and you might be able to.
Herbert's a good reference point. That's what you're hoping from him, because he was quarterback 9 his rookie year, and then he jumped to quarterback 2.
But I did this with Joe Burrow on his right after he'd made the Super Bowl and looked amazing. And everyone's like, oh, he beat Patrick Mahomes. He's better than Patrick Mahomes. Did it, sold him, got a nice haul in return. And I'm not looking back.
No,
I think that is a perfect reference for it, because I even have I even think he's very similar to Joe Burrow.
Oh,
with his talent level and everything else. And that was a total overcorrection by the market, right? He went to the Super Bowl, and now it's like, I'm building my dynasty around this guy. And then, you know, he got injured. That's not super fair, but I think you sell high, right? That's what you thought, Steven.
Think of what you could get. Like, if you just did got Kyler Murray plus, you could probably get another first round pick.
Yeah,
100%.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes completely worth it. Well, kind of switching tunes to a guy who's going a lot later in drafts and is way less valued in Dynasty is Brock Purdy. But he's always going to be, for the rest of his career, a polarizing guy. Like, wait until we get to a couple year or next year, after next offseason, where this guy's up for a contract extension. We're going to get so many hot takes. But Brock Purdy's going as the QB 12 and underdog at an ADP of 103. So this is way later in drafts, because this is way after that upper tier quarterbacks have gone. And on keep trade cut, we have him as the QB 14. I'll start with Jacob this time. What are we feeling here on Brock Purdy, both Dynasty and Underdog?
Dynasty, I think, is fine. Best ball, I'm just not a big Brock Purdy guy. I'm really not. I don't see a ceiling. Last year he was quarterback 6, but it was quarterback 8 in points per game, and that was with a down year with quarterbacks. The year before that would have been QB 9, and the year before that it would have been quarterback 13. So I think he's a low end quarterback 1. We know what we're getting. The week-to-week upside isn't anything crazy. Rushing floor is low. He kind of just is what he is. He's like a nice version of Jared Goff.
Hey, Barack. Jacob thinks you stink.
Boom, roasted.
Someone rebuttal this man. What do you guys thinking? Similar feelings or different feelings?
You know, hey, Andrew, if I could tell you, you're getting a young Jared Goff.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
Are you excited about it? Because Jacob, when you said Jared Goff, I was thinking that the whole time. I'm like, yeah, I think he's Jared Goff.
Did you just ask me if I get excited for Jared Goff?
Yeah.
That's not the right word.
No, I was being sort of sarcastic there, but
I'd be perfectly content with him.
Yeah, he's a guy that if you have on your roster, you got him for free. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You got him for free. I'm fine writing it out, but he's not a guy I'm like super excited to have. I mean, this one's kind of Manila. You said he's like QB 14. Feels about right.
On Dynasty, yeah.
I mean, I'm not super excited to necessarily move him for like a JJ McCarthy, but like they're valued similar. Like I don't know. There's like a tier of these guys that go, I would say after like Kyler Murray, maybe after Trevor Lawrence, which it's kind of a tier of a bunch of guys that are just kind of in this no man's land, and they all feel the same to me. So I don't know. I guess he's roasted.
Boom, roasted. Got it. Jesse, what are your thoughts here?
It's funny because I'm in the same of the same mind as both these guys, but I kind of had a different angle at it than Jacob did. Like I think in redraft at that value, who cares? You know, it doesn't matter. Like you could have him be your late round quarterback that could get you points and keep it close, everything else. I think in Dynasty and on Keep Trade Cut, he's ahead of Dak. He's ahead of Tua. He's ahead of Drake May. He's ahead of JJ McCarthy. He's ahead of Jared Goff. He's ahead of Bryce Young. You know, that all of those players to me I feel like I'd rather have them in Dynasty. I think they in Dynasty and on Keep Trade Cut, they're, again, maybe the market is a little high on him. You know, because if you just think of like over the course of his career, I just don't see him like elevating really, you know, and I think he just kind of is what he is. And I think it's because he plays on this really great team in a really interesting offense. But we have to also remember that those things kind of change, right? So at some point you're going to want a more talented guy, a guy with a higher ceiling. If I'm playing Dynasty, if I'm going to be spending, you know, that kind of value. And I don't know. I just think Dak has been so consistent. Tua, I think, has a higher ceiling. Drake May definitely does. So just fascinating to see some of the players that are behind him.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy was third in touchdown passes last year, and last year was a bad year for quarterback. Jacob was telling me before this, like, get ready for us to talk about these quarterbacks, and they ranked this because, well, this year was a terrible quarterback year. So you almost have to throw out, like, oh, they were the QB 12. That's a QB 1. Well, most years it's like the QB 15. But he had a phenomenal season. But yeah, I think we're kind of in consensus. Yeah, Dynasty.
Boom, roasted.
But man, redraft. Okay, let's get some redraft love here. He's going late enough in drafts where, like, if you want to go late round quarterback strategy on this guy, he's going around the same spot as some position players of Trey Benson, Cortland Sutton. I like Javonte Williams, but then Mike Williams, Nick Chubb. Like, if I'm going underdog, yeah, I'll absolutely go late round quarterback there. Take me some Brock Purdy, and then I'm feeling more like this.
Yay!
So with the Dynasty, maybe not so much, but I think we're redraft. Does that sound at least kind of across the board like a decent value?
Let me just point out a stat to you, Andrew. So Pro Football Focus, you're familiar with their expected points? I've
heard of them once or twice.
Yeah. So what they think normally in like a normal year using averages, what a quarterback would have scored. I have been following them for a while. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback exceed expectations quite like he did last year.
But that's going to happen. That's as people say that about Ayuk and Debo, and I'm over it. I'm just riding the high. Like Debo, I just put in my projections for. Like, he's just going to be good. Like, that offense is just going to be good, and they're going to outperform expectations.
But I do think that, like we've talked about, a quarterback that doesn't rush the football, that relies on a lot of efficiency. What if they have injuries? What if your boy Debo gets hurt again? What if McCaffrey gets hurt
Don't
again?
you dare say that.
So,
but they still have good players.
Brock Purdy, they said he scored 80 more points than he should have, fantasy points, 5 points per game more than he should have. So
that's crazy.
If we want to talk about regression, if that were to hit Brock Purdy, you know, let's just say in the extreme example, because he averaged 18.5 points per game, more than CJ Stroud, by the way. If he drops 5 points per game, he's now
roasted.
That was for Stroud. Sorry.
I thought I was out of this. 13.5 points per game doesn't excite me very much. Now, I don't think he's going to go back that far, but regression, I think, could very well hit him. And if that was his ceiling, if 18.5 points per game was his ceiling, I'm a little scared of him. So yeah, I think QB 12 in redraft, that feels about right. I don't think it's a huge value in my opinion.
No, I just think it feels at least like good enough that we threw some optimism in there. Moving on to a guy I think we will be more optimistic on, however, and a dude who's going in a very similar spot in redraft, and I don't know where to put him. Jaden Daniels. We're finally getting to see these rookies in their uniforms at training camp. I love this, except for that's just such an ugly little Like, why can't we have nicer practice jerseys? Like, Come on now. But Jaden Daniels is going as the QB 13 overall in redraft, right behind Brock Purdy at 106. I'm gonna start there. Redraft alone. Who are you guys taking? I'll start with you, Jesse. Would you rather have Jaden Daniels or Brock Purdy redraft this year?
I think you got a lot higher ceiling with Jaden Daniels' rushing ability. So if you're swinging for the fences, if you've got that mindset, like Steven's been trying to hammer into me for years, he'd be either first or last. I think that's that kind of swing for the fences pick.
What about you, Steven? Would you rather Purdy or Jaden Daniels?
I mean, I just talked all this shit about Purdy. I think, oh man, that's gonna be tough. You know what? I think I'm gonna give Purdy just like the slightest edge. But I think if Jaden Daniels, I think he's gonna run as much as we probably think he is. I just don't know he's gonna make it through the season. That's part of my worry. If you were to tell me Jaden Daniels will not get hurt.
Look at him in this photo. Look at this photo I have on here. He looks like a snake. Like that is the way he's twisting and turning, his hip's about to pop out.
Yeah, but a snake with a super quick release.
Oh yeah, no, he's got a cannon.
That's right.
I think I'll go Purdy because we've seen it for 2 years now, or at least a year and a half, I should say. And I know he's been hurt also. He got hurt twice actually in his 2 years, but I don't know. I feel like Jaden Daniels isn't making it through the season.
Jacob, what are your thoughts there? Purdy or Daniels redraft?
I'd much rather have the ceiling play at round 9, 10. I like swinging for the fences later in drafts. They're likely guys that I won't have on my roster when the season starts or is halfway through anyways, if we're talking about a normal fantasy league. So yeah, I'll swing for the fences.
Real quick over under on Jaden Daniels rushing yards for this season. I'm just setting an arbitrary line because it plays into my hands. 700 rushing yards. What do we think? Jacob, over or under, do you think he hits that?
The line's not out yet. I don't want to commit one way or the other.
I'm making a fake one, Jacob. Wait, hold on.
When you said that, I thought 700 felt about right.
I like season-long unders, but that's just like the responsible better in me because
how dare you
get hurt, and that's season-long unders are good, but I think it's a good over number. That's a pretty.
Look at this guy. He's all responsible with his betting, but when it comes to fantasy, he's all YOLO.
I need a boo button for this guy. Life is too short to bet the under. But so I made a nice little projection line because I went and looked at like where Robert Griffin III, I thought was a super good comp. That's one Jesse's mentioned a lot. And just looked at guys who are going to run the ball a lot and throw the ball a lot. And I found that 3,500 passing yards, 20 passing touchdowns to go with 730 rushing yards was a really good projection for Jaden Daniels. Like, I wouldn't say he blows us out of the water with like, oh my God, what a great season. Like, I think that's Jaden Daniels. If he has a good year, does that. Well, that makes him my QB 10. And I'm not necessarily trying to be pessimistic on a lot of other guys. So I think that is almost like a baseline for him. If he has a good, successful year, he's going to do that. And if he does really well, he could rush for 1,000. Jesse, I'm seeing you making faces. What are your thoughts on any of this?
The big thing with Jaden Daniels is I'm nervous about his long-term projection as a dynasty asset. If you want to swing for the fences, you're taking him late in a redraft situation. That's fun. He might run around. He might give you some Anthony Richardson type games where you win the week that week. So yeah, I think it. But man, you're talking about kind of building your franchise in dynasty around Jaden Daniels.
A glass cannon.
And build a house of cards a little bit when you're talking about some of the players surrounding him that you could have instead at that point value. I'm not personally gonna kind of put all my chips into that area just because I am worried about the injuries.
And Andrew, I still can't get Justin Fields' rookie year out of my head either. Maybe that's hurting his projection for me.
I found his line. It's 500.5. Which is about 30 yards per game if he plays 17. So
he should be able to do that.
That's an over. Yeah. I will take.
I think it's way too light. He is a better thrower of the football accuracy wise than Justin Fields was coming out. Less concerns mechanically and stuff. So we just to bring up the dynasty side of things, Jesse says he's a little bit worried at the QB 12. Guys ahead of him are Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert. Guys right behind him are Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott. Steven, where are you feeling about his value in dynasty?
I think that feels about right. You said he's right ahead of Herbert.
right behind Herbert,
Oh,
right
behind
ahead
Herbert?
of Lawrence, Purdy, Prescott.
Or sorry, I meant Lawrence. I don't know if it's Trevor Lawrence's hair. I still
Boom,
feel
A lot
like
of people
roasted.
hate Trevor Lawrence.
I still feel like I want Trevor Lawrence over Daniel. I
Oh,
feel like
sorry.
I
I thought
want.
the hair was a bad thing. I thought you
Yeah,
were going
that's what
for
it
a
sounded
roast.
like.
No. Oh, you kidding me? Have you seen that guy? No. That's not a bad thing. Come on.
Great hair.
Great hair. He should have more shampoo commercials. Does he even have any?
He needs more.
He needs to play better, and he'll get those commercials.
That's a fact.
I think I would lean Lawrence there, but some of the other guys you mentioned, I don't mind him going ahead of them.
What about you, Jacob?
I'd much rather have Lawrence and dynasty him in like a 3-year mindset. I think I'd rather have Dak for the next 3 years than I would Jaden Daniels.
Boom, roasted.
Get 3 elite years at quarterback, I think.
I love getting a giggle every single time out of Steven.
I was just gonna say I've laughed at every time you've hit that button.
It's a great button. Alrighty. I will go ahead and move us on out of the quarterback position then and on to some other guys starting at the running back position. And a dude he's in a really interesting spot in Underdog. I have found myself having to take him at least in little bits. Devon Achane, Miami Dolphins running back coming into his second year. He's going off the board as the RB28. And it's like spicy value. But let me get my rankings or my Underdog ADP pulled up here. He is going right around guys on Underdog like, no, I lost him. This is great podcasting. But he's going.
I can tell you. He's going. So he's going. It goes. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Saquon's RB5. Then it goes Jonathan Taylor. Then Kyron Williams. Then Achane at 8. And then Derrick Henry at 9. Josh Jacobs at 10. Travis Etienne at 11 for the running back position.
So what do you guys think of that? Jesse, I'll start with you. Devon Achane, really spicy prospect. We talked about him last year. Do you like him that high up?
With heavy sigh. I'm risk aversion as a dynasty owner. I'm just like, I think you're going to have similar to what we've had with him before, where you're going to have these huge games. 38 points and I win my week. And then he's questionable, So it's just, I don't know. I just don't think at that level, I want to be building my offense around him.
Jesse, call him small.
The small thing never bothered me as much as just, he didn't have quite the production level, that he's being drafted at as a college player. Like, he had some really fun highlights and things like that. And I think he'll kind of continue to be that guy. But we'll see. He could turn into the next big thing too. So it's a little bit. I don't know if I can go full roast, but it's pretty rich.
Devon Achane, where are you? Oh, look, he's over there behind that grain of rice.
Boom, roasted.
That's directly from Michael Scott in The Office. Come on now, I was trying to set you up there. Steven, what are you thinking of Devon Achane's ADP right there in redraft?
Well, I can tell you I'm not taking him over Derrick Henry. I don't care. I'm throwing out the age 30 cliff the cliff's like age 27 now, so he's well beyond the current running back cliff. It used to be 30. I'm not taking him over Derrick Henry. I don't care. I'm probably not taking him over Travis Etienne either. I am more worried about the size. I don't know if he's put on weight. I know he was at the combine, 188 pounds at 5'9". They did draft a running back. Mostert's still there. I think this is more of a committee. I don't think this is a bell cow system. And I know he can be extremely efficient, but all the running backs that Mike McDaniels gets are these little kind of fast guys. I think he wants to run this committee. He knows some of them will get hurt. I think he thinks there's a good chance Achane could get hurt. So yeah, that's a little too rich for my blood.
What are your thoughts there, Jacob?
It's rich, but I don't mind it as long as you're planning on taking another running back the next round or the round after. I think you need a good complementary running back too on your fantasy squad if he's going to be your RB1, because I think you're going to have the volatile weeks. You're going to have that boom bust. It might be a little scary with injuries, but he is electric and will flat out win you weeks. And there's not a lot of players that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely true. What kind of astounds me is his 12% target share he was able to have last year, which I think is just really setting a floor and raising a ceiling even higher. And again, the projections I like mentioning because it makes you go through this mental practice. I have him as my RB11 in my projections. Well, that's on 147 rush attempts because I also think he can garner 54 receptions, like up there in 60, 70 targets of 50 receptions. And you put that together as an efficient target, efficient on the ground. He's probably going to be the most efficient back in the league again next year. He can have an RB1 season if he doesn't get this massive share. But let's say there's a world where he gets 60% of the backfield and stays healthy. What's he doing? Like, that's the RB1 right there. Let's go more dynasty. Were you guys willing to mix things up dynasty wise? And on Keep Trade Cut, he's currently the RB6. That puts him only behind like this upper echelon of guys, right behind Taylor and CMC, Gibbs, Hall, and Robinson. And he's ahead of proven guys like Travis Etienne, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams. What do you guys think there, Steven? How do you feel about his dynasty value?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm probably even less in dynasty. I think he's a fun player. I think he could be good. He could be Austin Eckler. You know, Austin Eckler is an undersized guy that was very athletic, caught a lot of passes. Yeah, maybe he will be that guy. I still would rather have. You say he's going ahead of Jonathan Taylor?
He's going right behind Jonathan. But there's not much of a difference. I
mean, I still think the problem is he's in this weird spot. I think if some of these other running backs, excuse me, were a little bit younger, it would be a little easier to just say no way. But I mean, Josh Jacobs on his second contract, you know, he's 26 years old. That's getting close to that 27 cliff that we don't like to talk about. Saquon Barkley, he's 28 years old, or maybe 27. But I don't know. I still would rather probably have some of those guys. So I think it's a little bit high for me.
Jacob, what about you?
It's a little high for me. Kyron's one of those young guys, for the record. He's only 23. So I'm still of the mindset that that's the RB1 in LA. There's a lot of stuff we can get into there. That's a separate conversation. But that's a floor and ceiling guy I'd rather have over Achane that just provides me more week-to-week value.
I just want to move these guys for a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's fair. That's how all running backs feel after you get past the first four. So.
Well, the issue with that is I'm going to go pull up some equivalent values as Jesse talks about his mindset on it. You cannot get an RB. The RB6 is going to go for like the wide receiver 20. But Jesse, what are your thoughts there on Devon Achane's dynasty value?
I'm not touching that. 5,000 points for a guy that could blow up at any minute in both directions. You know, just a ton of volatility there. I'd rather have Etienne, Barkley, Kyron, even maybe Kenneth Walker. Let's keep going. Aren't we talking about Kenneth Walker next?
We are. And just to bring up that wide receiver conversation, and Kenneth Walker is right around where he is. Would you guys rather have Devon Achane or a wide receiver in his range, Michael Pittman?
I'll take Achane. I don't think Pittman has a huge ceiling.
What about Devontae Smith?
I love Devonta Smith.
I do love Devonta. Two undersized guys.
They just extended AJ though, so it's.
And where RBs fall is, you know, just is inherently less valuable. So just to bring that up, Jesse, you mentioned it. We are getting to Kenneth Walker next. This is a guy who is he's going to be so good on explosive ground plays, but this dude does not really get involved in the passing game. He's not a consistent down-to-down player. Jesse, what are your thoughts here on Kenneth Walker, who's going as the RB16 and Underdog and an ADP of 63 overall?
Steven, wasn't there a point where he was being looked at as one of the top dynasty assets?
I was just gonna say, I went from being like so excited about Kenneth Walker, and I'm looking at this picture that Andrew put up, and I'm just seeing like it feels like I'm looking at Rashad Penny in a Hallmark movie. Like I have no excitement.
Roasted.
I don't know.
Boom, roasted.
That was a good one. My bad.
Part of it is I really like Charbonnet too, and as long as he's there, yeah. I'm sorry, Jesse. I'm not excited. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was just fascinating. He's a fascinating kind of polarizing player to me because there was a while there where you could sell him for, 6,000 something points. He was up there in that. We were talking about him as Bijan, Brees, Jahmyr Gibbs. I loved the player coming out. I have no idea how he's developing, and I don't know how they're going to use him in that offense, and he's not really catching passes. So there are some concerns there. I do think when I read the list of backs that he's around, like just dynasty backs, James Cook, Jonathan Brooks, Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco. I think he has more upside than those guys. I think that there's a chance that he could finish way higher over a many seasons than those guys I just listed off, because I liked him so much coming out. But yeah, I'm very mid. I'm having a hard time figuring out where to fall on Kenneth Walker.
Speaking of that offense, Jesse, tell us about Ryan Grubb, who's their new offensive coordinator, and how he's going to run things in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Coming over from Washington. Not a nice long drive. Wait, no drive. Literally, they're both in Seattle. I mean, his offensive system was unbelievable. He made Michael Penix should have probably won the Heisman with the numbers that he put up. Do they have a quarterback that can layer the football into multiple windows? Do they have a quarterback that can hit on home run balls when they set them up?
I say yes.
That's what he's really good at. And that's what Penix, featured the last couple of years there at Washington, was the ability to really layer the ball. And so they run a lot of, it's kind of like deep, long developing stuff. But if you have a gifted passer, it's really hard to defend. And there's not a lot of checking down to running backs. It's really, it's about kind of running the ball and then these downfield passes where I think of like scissors is what it's called, where there's a post and a corner both happening. And then the drag is going to be this really deep drag. So it takes a while to develop. You need a good offensive line. You need a quarterback that has the ability to layer multiple windows. He can't be kind of a one-trick pony. So do they have that? Is he going to be able to do that at the NFL level when the windows are smaller? We'll have to see.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker is definitely an interesting value. And I think he fits in well with the system that you're mentioning there, Jesse, because as the receivers are sent downfield and will likely be at a lot of times at Washington, empty sets or not necessarily empty, but like a 5-man front, no tight end available, 11 personnel. And it just creates so much space for a guy like Dylan Johnson last year with Washington. And I think Kenneth Walker is going to be able to do a lot in that space. But Kenneth Walker,
don't you think that Javonte Williams could do just as well as Kenneth Walker this upcoming season?
I think he could do better.
Javonte Williams is thousands of points less, 1,200. You're talking about a whole additional player or pick in addition to Javonte to get Kenneth Walker. It's just, now I'm roasting Kenneth Walker. That's just
boom, roasted.
It's too rich. It's too rich. I'll take some of these other guys down here that are in offensive systems that I trust to get the checkdowns. Even Joe Mixon, he's way down the list there. Those are guys that they still have some years of production.
Yeah. Well, like Steve mentioned too, he's got a really good backup running back sitting right there behind him that also catches the ball well. And running back 16, where he's at right now, would be the best year of his career.
It's hard to see him outperforming where he is. Yeah, Jacob, I agree.
He's at running back 18 and 19 the first 2 years of his career with 15 games both years. So
not much to go up. Like for a guy who isn't going to receive in an offense that we don't think is going to be top 10, like it would be a really good year for them if they were. A guy who is also going to find himself in a bit of a new situation here, talking about next, the last running back for us, DeAndre Swift. And it's just weird and gross. Like, you just kind of have him around. This guy's never going anywhere. DeAndre Swift won't die. But now he finds himself in Chicago signing a deal for a decent chunk of change. He was the first guy to go in free agency, so clearly they were happy to have him. Steven, what are you thinking of DeAndre Swift? We'll start out in Underdog, going RB22 off the board at 83rd overall.
Don't feel terrible. I don't think. What RB was he? RB what?
22.
Yeah, I probably like him a little bit better than that. He's going after what, Kenneth Walker?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like many 20 picks after Kenneth Walker, 15 picks after
20 picks.
I get it. There's competition there. He's not going to be a bell cow. I do like this offense there. Now I know Chicago ran the football second most in the NFL last year, but it's kind of hard when you got Justin Fields running a lot of that. So I'm just curious what this offense is going to do on the ground this year without Justin Fields. Like, how much is Caleb going to take of that? I probably like him better than players like Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. Some of these older backs,
You like him better than those guys this year? Because both those
Yeah.
guys are going RB15 is Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones is RB19.
Yeah, I think I do like him more than those guys just because he's quite a bit younger. I think he's got a little bit more juice than those guys. I do think this offense is going to be good. I think I like him a little bit better than his redraft ADP. As far as Dynasty goes, I mean, he's in that no man's land again. I honestly feel like he's going to be just as good as Kenneth Walker. I feel like there's this now that there might be a Kenneth Walker line of like running back, and I like him just as much as Kenneth Walker, but he's cheaper.
Yeah, he's at his floor, I think. He hasn't ever finished lower than running back 21, and he's never really been a bell cow running back. So I think you're getting a guy at his floor on an offense that has a lot of promise and a rookie quarterback. And again, he like Andrew said, he was sought after immediately as soon as free agency started. So
in 3 years, like you said, you just talked about that window, Jacob. He's under contract for the next 3 years. I'm good with that for any running back.
Get some positivity in the room, gentlemen. Go you, DeAndre Swift. Jesse, what are your thoughts there on DeAndre Swift going as RB22?
I'm toasting him in that area.
Boom, roasted.
No, I said toast.
Yeah, I got confused. I was like,
I heard
toast.
I heard it, Jesse.
Man, I'm trying to agree. I tried to enunciate even. I knew Andrew would do that. No, I'm going to be targeting him in redraft at that particular area. I think that's great. Yeah. I do think it's interesting because he's retaining a lot of value in Dynasty, like maybe more than he should. So I don't know that he's a target for me there. But no, I think in the redraft especially, it's like, yeah, dude, I'll take him in that area.
Mm-hmm. Give him a thumbs up. Look at what the little thumbs up thing.
It's so fancy. Yeah, you guys do this. YouTube skiers will only see that. When he does a thumbs up, it like pops up an automatic thumbs up animation, and I'm so jealous I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I need you guys.
Leave it there for a second, Jesse.
He's taunting me.
What is he doing?
I don't know, but he always give another thumbs up, Jacob. He just gives a thumbs up, and then he gets his little jolly emoji. Who are you paying for that? What do you
I get a heart too.
Yeah, look at this guy. Who do you know? What are you doing? What connections do you have?
Jacob is a tech whiz, so I'm not surprised by this.
Go to YouTube, check it out.
Stay here with my thumb up until something happens now for the rest of the podcast.
He's like your parents trying to figure out how to use the Skype so you can talk to him and just sit there smiling. I need to, as well as figuring out who Jacob knows to get those fancy features. Why is Ramondre Stevenson going ahead of him? Why is like Zamir White going ahead of DeAndre Swift in an offense we were pretty sure will be better than both of those, but I don't think either of those guys are getting a ton more work than either of those guys. It's a mystery. So I think universally kind of this year an underdog is for DeAndre Swift, but that'll move us on out of the running back position and talking about some of these wide receivers. One that Jesse wanted to talk about, and Jesse, I wanted you to kind of tell the people what we were just talking about Puka and his value. He's wide receiver 6th in Underdog, ADP 10 overall.
That's pretty wild to me. So I think that he is that valuable. But the part that's wild to me is I know that he was a 3rd round pick in a dynasty draft. So this one wasn't really, I think I guess it's a toast because it's a toast to him arriving to that, ascending to that level, and having we're talking like a 5,000 point swing in dynasty. So that changes your team completely. So Jacob, why don't you talk about it? How does it feel to do a 5,000 point swing on a player? And
feels like shit, I'll tell you that.
and I'm pretty sure Kyron Williams was just like a free agent pickup. So that's a 4,931 point. You have about 10,000 points in fortunate swings. Yeah. How does that feel?
We don't need to talk about any of my losses after that. We should talk about why I'm not a Rams fan, actually.
Hey, you can say though, you went from like the number 1 overall pick to like, what were you in the championship or one game away from the championship?
Final last year. I made my money back.
Yeah.
So
he flipped his team.
Especially when there's a guy that just gets spoon-fed players. So, anyways,
don't get him started.
But no, I love his value, and I think his consensus dynasty value, he's undervalued on like consensus dynasty rankings. And keep trade cut, I think it's more fair. But like consensus dynasty rankings, he's behind AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson, and I think that's a mistake. So
Really? I don't know if I can go that far. Like we saw 1 year with this guy. He's connected to Matthew Stafford, who
yeah,
is not a long-term solution there. I don't think
but
he's
Aaron Rodgers is.
yeah, I guess it's fair for the Garrett Wilson argument.
Ooh.
AJ Brown, I have a hard time moving off of, but I just don't think you're far off. Like he's
give you-
absolutely insane.
Let me give you one like scary thought. Do you remember when McVay was like kind of flirting with maybe I'm going to be done coaching?
Oh yeah.
Is he the type of guy that can be that alpha when he's not in that type of offense where they are figuring out ways to get him the football? I mean, that offense is really unique in the way that they get the football to their playmakers. I get a little nervous for, that again, giant keep trade cut value there. Is that something that's gonna be sustainable over in any offense? Is he that type of player? But I digress. I think we should keep going because there's some other great receivers to talk about here.
I agree. Puka Nacua is definitely an interesting case. Good for him. Claps for you, Puka Nacua. But this next guy, Jesse is ready to absolutely get in and
Boom, roasted.
But I'm really ready to just for this guy. So Jesse, you take the floor first. Why are you hating on Drake London? What did Drake London do to you?
I think it's the interesting thing about Drake London is he was very hyped up coming out of college, and I'm not sure why. It's just a situation where he looked really good in shorts and his measurables and everything else. He had a pretty significant injury, so we never got to even see how fast his 40 was, but he just never looked like a guy that was going to separate from me. But he is just, he's the number 31 overall player on Keep Trade Cut. He's still pulling close to 6,000 points. And that's after 2 seasons of averaging 70 catches, about a little over 800 yards, and averaging 3 touchdowns a season. Now, should he take a step forward with Kirk Cousins? I think so. But do we have a historical comp for a player like that we really drafted him on potential over college production? Because I just didn't really see it as a college player. So we were looking at the size, and we were just going, yeah, he's gonna just body players like he did in college. And then he didn't do it for 2 years. Do we have, this is not a snarky question. I would love for you guys to tell me who we should be comping him to, where he's going to take that leap forward, because his production has been nowhere near the 31st overall player in the entire, in Dynasty. Like it's been nowhere near that. So you're drafting a guy off of potential, and I just want to know the historical comp, and then I would feel better about getting into it.
31st is funny because those are his wide receiver finishes the first 2 years. It's 30 and 31.
But this is 31st overall player.
Yeah. Yep. The jump
he's going as wide
crazy.
Receiver 11. So he's finishing as wide receiver 1. He's going as wide receiver 11. What it feels like to me is Kyle Pitts. It feels like Kyle Pitts. Like we are doing benefit of the doubt for this player for some reason, even though we are not seeing production. So that's the part that gets me really scared about this, is we're going to see that jump from 31 to 11 with, I don't have any data to support that. I can't even go back to college and be like, this guy he was a true alpha. He was separating from players and creating big play. He just didn't do that.
Boom, roasted.
There you go.
Jesse, I was thinking about this too. I think he's a hard one. I do think his ADP is insane. He's a wide receiver 10. Is that what we just said?
Yeah.
For Underdog. Like, I still think he can be good, and I think with Kirk Cousins he could be good. But good Lord, wide receiver 10. That's aggressive. Some comps for you that came to mind for me. 249ers I thought of. Deebo Samuel. You're talking about 30-year breakouts. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Those guys were a little bit. Well, at least Ayuk was a little bit better his rookie year. That used to be a thing. It used to be the 3rd-year breakout. It's like kind of gone away in recent years, where it's almost like they either hit year 1 or they have the breakout year 2. But this used to be kind of it's the 3rd year. This is when they break out. So I could totally see it coming. I will tell you, I am in currently about 20 best ball drafts. I have yet to take him.
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable taking him at wide receiver 10.
Boom, roasted.
So yeah, I'm passing on him. I'm roasting him.
The comp, Jesse, is Nico Collins, who was terrible his first 2 years and then jumped to wide receiver 12 last year. But
let's talk about Nico. Look at this transition.
But he was a value in drafts, like a big time value.
Absolutely. So where are we at now?
I refuse
with Nico.
to let us talk about Nico Collins until I defend my guy Drake London
My
here.
guy.
Okay, so I have Drake London projected as my wide receiver 8, and here's why. He came in and commanded a 30% target share in a woeful Atlanta offense this rookie season. After coming off of commanding a 35% college dominator rating in his offense, an offense, mind you, that had Michael Pittman in it and Amon-Ra St. Brown when he was a freshman at USC. So I think he just had a bad situation around him. His final season at USC, he played in 8 games. He had 1,084 yards and was lapping everyone in that receiver room. And that's when the greats weren't there anymore. Pittman and Amon-Ra had moved on. Drake London has been the guy for the entirety of his career. He's made the most of every situation he's had. He's just not had great situations. But that's my spiel on Drake London.
You might have flipped me, Andrew. You don't
I'm
usually do it because you just cling to the diva elite prospect wide receiver and you hold on to it for too long. But I don't know. You might have got me this time.
I got to type. And man, Kirk Cousins coming in, he's going to throw the ball 550 to 600 times. And who the heck else is going to catch passes there? That Kyle Pitts guy, he stinks.
Boom, roasted.
Moving on to Nico Collins because we brought him up and I want to get through more guys as well. Jacob, I'll let you hop in. Nico Collins, he's going off the board as the wide receiver 15, ADP 23 overall is for the Texans. Great breakout season. Was some time coming. 3rd-year breakout, to your point, Steven. But Stephon Diggs added. Tank Dell's still there. So is Dalton Schultz. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
I think it's too rich. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. We've already talked about Stroud maybe, coming back to earth a little bit. There was that 4-week stretch where Tank Dell was absolutely dominant and about 6.5 points per game better than Nico. So I would just rather take the value with Tank Dell if I'm going to take a receiver in this offense. I don't like the richness of this price here with Nico Collins.
Steven, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with Jacob. Like, if I'm gonna pick a value, I'm taking Tank Dell at wide receiver 30, whatever it is. I don't remember what you said it was, but there are a lot of these guys, Jacob, that you're talking about, like a lot of mouths to feed. I mean, I'm just looking at where is he on here? Wide receiver 15. I mean, other guys like the San Francisco 49er wide receivers, lots of competition there. I mean, DJ Moore, I think he's going to have competition. So I think he's around a lot of other guys that still have the competition angle as well. I don't think it's terrible. I'm glad that he's gone down. He was wide receiver 9 just about a month ago before they got Diggs. I think I've taken him in 1 draft so far, but there's other guys that like a better value, but I don't think it's terrible.
Jesse, what about you? What are your thoughts on Nico Collins?
I mean, the dynasty thing is crazy to me because let me list some dynasty players that are going behind him. DK, at Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, JSN, Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey. Tell me when I get to a guy that you'd rather have Nico Collins like in dynasty for a long period.
I like Nico over all of those guys.
Yeah, I'm on the
really over
yeah.
like
I'd
over a
like
long
halfway
period of
point.
time.
Where do you guys think he finished last year?
He was the wide
so-
receiver. He was the
Yeah,
wide
right,
receiver 12.
this is
How many
this is my
targets do you
thing.
think he got?
He got
He got
I mean,
109.
yeah.
He's just got to do that again, and I think he will.
Like,
And here's the thing. Here's a counterpoint that I did look up that I just forgot about. He was number 2 in yards per route run last year. Only Tyreek Hill had more.
And why
so
will
he-
that change?
He
109
was
is a little unfair. He missed a couple games.
so he I do like Nico. And we all, let's just for the record, we all loved him last year. I think he made every
Oh,
when
yeah.
we were doing those slides of
I
like
drafted him
late,
3 times.
Yeah,
Three-
like we
out
all
of my
loved
4
him.
leagues.
I actually
So-
think I was out on
But
him
that
last
was
year.
but that was
Yeah,
the but it was
well,
the
Andrew,
value.
of course you were. Where was he
thing.
drafted? He
Big
was
time
too
the,
value.
He wasn't enough of a diva.
he was a 3rd round pick. Of course you hated him.
Exactly.
Boom, roasted.
All right. But I think we do have some split feelings on Nico Collins here. I think he does have a lot of upside, but the cost is there, and he is in a committee, to say the least there. You guys mind if I move us on to our
Yeah.
next wide receiver before?
Wide receiver 55 last year was where he was being drafted.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a hell of a see. That's what I'm saying. Don't go get Nico. Go find next year's Nico. We should have a whole podcast that is
Next
who is
year's
next year's
Nico.
Nico.
Hey,
No,
I do
because
that
for real,
every year.
we liked him because we were like, who are they throwing the ball to? Why is nobody putting
Yeah.
him as a guy that could be catching a lot of balls here? So yeah, and what's funny is there maybe that's the case for Drake. If Drake May moves forward, or sorry, Drake London. Drake London moves forward and becomes, I did write it down here, wide receiver 8 from Andrew Teuscher. He says he's going to be wide receiver 8 on this date. I wrote that
Love
down.
it.
If that happens, there's your model because it's similar. But the only thing is he's being drafted super high. So that's the difference is nobody thought Nico was going to be the guy. So we need to go find nobody thinks this guy's going to be the guy. And then he becomes the guy. Now when he becomes the guy, it feels a little rich for me. So that's where we loved him last year. And now it's like, it's a little rich now.
I got to say, each offseason, I text Steven and I like to go through this thought process of let's find last year's so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like, go find that unique fantasy experience and see if we can't recreate it, at least kind of in a light situation. We'll do that on the pod. I like it.
There's never been one that sounded better than next year's Nico, though.
I love it. Great.
And Steven, if you're talking about selling at their high point, like as their, I mean, it's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do we see him surging past that?
Well,
I don't know.
Nico?
The thing is, I just think he's safe. I
Yeah.
think Diggs is there for a year, and he's tied to the third highest ranked dynasty quarterback right now in CJ Stroud. So that's the part that I'm feeling comfortable with. And he plays in a dome where they play like 12 home games a year.
Gotcha.
Or 12 dome games a year, I should say.
Well, let's get through a couple more wide receivers, and we'll maybe dream about tight ends another day. We have this group of wide receivers. Jacob and I were talking before the pod. It's just messy. Like, there's a wide receiver dead zone, and we just don't know who to take from. And that's where DJ Moore falls this year at Underdog. Wide receiver 18, ADP overall of 26. Guys, just wide receivers go super high, so the overall ADPs are high for these guys. Jacob, I'll let you start. Do you like this value for DJ Moore, who's got Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen and a rookie quarterback? Roast or toast?
Mild roast. I don't know. It feels
I'll just
like
play
a fair
it in quietly,
ADP.
I guess.
Boom, roasted.
Like a whisper of
That
that.
still felt very loud, but no, the price seems fair. Like you said, it's kind of this like weird little dead zone of like wide receivers that I don't really have a strong take towards one way or the other. But I think DJ Moore can be an alpha in this offense still. It just worries me with I love Rome Odunze coming in. I think Keenan Allen is going to command a lot of short range targets. We have a rookie quarterback there to support a lot of guys that are going to be on this offense. So it worries me a little bit, but it also feels like a very safe spot to draft him in when he was wide receiver 8 last year. So
what are you thinking, Steven?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jacob. I think it feels fine. Like I could list off some players. Oh, I'd rather have Amari Cooper at his ADP, or I'd rather have T Higgins at his ADP. But at the same time, like, I don't think that his ADP is egregious. I think wide receiver 18. I think we've always haven't we always been an apologist for DJ Moore for like his entire career because he's never had a quarterback, and then now he's got a quarterback, and he showed last year. I wouldn't even say his quarterback situation last year was amazing, but he played very well. He did really good. We've at least seen 2 very good, wide receiver 1 seasons from DJ Moore. So I think it's fine. I'm okay with it. I didn't like it when it was at wide receiver 12, but now that it's dropped some, I like it. I think it's okay.
Jesse, some final thoughts on DJ Moore?
He's a hard one for me. I feel like when we're not up on him, he does really well. When we're down on, you know what I mean? Like it's like we can't find the right zone.
It's like the Matrix, Jesse. That scene when he's dodging the bullets. That's DJ Moore, wide receiver 1 season.
Yeah, no, it's like we're like, he sucks, and then he does really good, and now we're like, he's really good, and he's gonna suck, and I'm just like, kind of don't want to touch that at all at this point. But I think I'll kind of listen to Jake and say he was like, that's fair. That's fair value. Yeah. So
toasting that value. One more guy I want to talk about wide receiver wise, and he's really interesting. This could end up being like, what were we thinking? How did this guy go this late in Underdog drafts? We have Cooper Kupp going off the board as the wide receiver 24, ADP of 35. Jesse, you're reacting to this already, so I'll start with you. Doesn't this feel like his floor?
Absolutely. I am toasting this all the way. I am all in on Cooper Kupp. There are several guys above him on that list that I would still take him over. Lots of guys there. I think he could. I think it's, again, like, weird. Sometimes it's like narratives, right? And it's like, okay, now they have Puka. This guy is useless. And it's like, no, this is still Matthew Stafford's guy. This is still, they build the offense around him. They just added this other piece. And there were times when he was really effective when Puka was there too. They were both eating, right? So yeah, this seems really low for me. So I'm all in on that one.
Mm-hmm. He was wide receiver 19 when he came back from injury, weeks 5 through 17. So wide receiver 24 feels like a screaming value for Cooper Kupp.
Steven, your thoughts?
Same. Yeah. I can't see myself pushing the button on some of these other guys ahead of Kupp. I don't think I'm hitting that Malik Neighbors button year one over Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I Malik Neighbors going that high is kind of crazy. It's just a bunch of wide receiver 2-ish kind of guys, or low end wide receiver ones that we're not really excited for, like Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, Malik Neighbors, and then there's just Cooper Kupp there. Just is sitting there looking nice and good, like a cute little cupcake, and you just want to take him. You just want to scream for him. Do we want to dive into tight ends, gentlemen, or what are we thinking here?
Hey, I gotta just real quickly, one of the top 5 risers on Keep Trade Cut over the last 30 days has been wide receiver Jermaine Burton.
Let's finish talking about him.
And I do find that fascinating because that is a volatile situation. And if you didn't catch the draft, Nick Saban, he admitted that this guy needs to do some work off the field to make sure that he's, catches on with an NFL team and becomes a star. Mm-hmm. He's on Keep Trade Cut. He's going ahead of Khalil Shakir, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Jacoby Myers, DeAndre Hopkins. That feels crazy to me. And we do not know if he's even going to really carve out a role in that offense right away. Mm-hmm. So they're forgetting about my guy, Charlie Jones. He's about to come in. He's about to take care of things.
Next year's Nico.
I got to go pick him up on the waiver wire right now, I think.
But I'm writing that one down.
I just think that's a little, it's just interesting to me because I'm like, what is that? And I saw one Instagram video where he caught a nice pass with just a helmet on, looked really good. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm like, he is a talented guy. Andrew and I have talked about, if you're going to swing for the fences, there's a great,
he's the guy.
There's a great rookie pick in a rookie draft, right? Especially where he was going. It's not like you had to spend a whole lot to get him. But I think it's fascinating to look at these risers and these fallers, especially on Keep Trade Cut, because it's like the community kind of builds that. The narratives create that. And I think it's fascinating that he's the second highest riser.
I feel like he's being valued like T. Higgins is already gone. It's already his sophomore year.
Yep,
but
I agree.
He's buried behind both those guys this year. He only has 3rd round draft capital. So even looking forward into 2025, if T. Higgins is gone and he's the aforementioned wide receiver 2, who's to say they don't draft a receiver in round 1 or round 2? So I just think you're betting on the future that we just don't know about.
Charlie Jones, Chuck Sizzle. You heard it here first.
Chuck Sizzle. That's I don't know if I can.
Boom, roasted.
Just the nickname there is. Ugh.
That's his actual nickname. Okay, you make up nicknames.
Not.
I use real nicknames from college football. Yay! Go look it up. That is his actual nickname.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the fact that this will be another show, Jesse. We need a whole new talk about the game coming out, NCAA. We'll save it. But
let's just do a special. Yeah.
July. Let's just live stream. All of us get on, start streaming.
The reveal coming soon. The reveal's this week, I think.
Oh God!
What obscure school are you guys wanting to play as? Yeah. I'm a big fan of Ohio University, but not the Ohio State.
Yeah, no Bobcats, buddy.
UAB.
Go to the MAC.
UAB.
There are still a couple teams that didn't even exist on NCAA 14. So I'm talking Sam Houston State, Delaware, Kennesaw State. There's a bunch of teams that didn't even exist.
Is it Monmouth in there too?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Monmouth. I don't think they're Division 1 yet. But
can you
create
teams
Madison?
Yet? We don't know.
You don't have to create them now. I had to create them back on the old game, though. I had to
Yeah.
build all the rosters out for James Madison. So
And you had to type in the player names too.
Absolutely,
You used to be quarterback number 17.
And then I'd be in the weeds figuring out how many rushing yards this kid had his sophomore year. So I would be adjusting the speed appropriately based on an extensive ratio system built out by the community.
Don't even want to know the amount of time that
Steven had the shake my head emoji. He's just like this, like, oh God, like as I was saying all of that.
I wonder if I have that one.
Watch it on YouTube. Watch it on YouTube because Steven's just like, oh God, what have we done?
No, I'm so sorry.
And when he says type out, like it's not like he has a keyboard. Like you have to go through on that controller and up, over,
Yep.
X.
Yep, exactly. Oh God, wow, man, I put in so many hours. I'm so glad there's gonna be a new video game. Thank God.
I am excited. I'm gonna spend way too much time on that, and it'll be absolutely amazing. I'll be playing it whenever I have my newborn around this a little bit after. And so we're me and my little girl are just gonna hang out and play college football, and it doesn't get better than that.
And this is going to be Andrew when he scores a touchdown. Yes! like you're trying to be like as quiet as you can because you got the newborn right next to you. You're like, like the silent fist pump.
The better is when you're stifling a swear. Like,
you have a kid sitting right in front of you. It hasn't slept for hours, but you finally got him asleep so you could play a little bit. Oh man,
I'll be coming for a treat.
In for a treat, my man.
I'm looking forward to it. I will take us out of here, though. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, tell a friend about us. But more than anything, like, share it, hit a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Really gets the name out there. We appreciate you guys going on this journey with us over this offseason. We'll have way more content for you guys. Follow the main page. Where you'll get stuff from all of us. Steven runs it at Fantasy Guides or fantasyguides.com. Gets you a rookie draft guide, a season draft guide coming out very, very shortly. It's all amazing. Steven, is this draft guide already out already? No,
it's ready. Yeah.
It's ready. I knew that.
I just haven't announced it on social yet because they're still dotting a few I's, crossing a few T's. Still have to create the promotion for it, but I mean, it's ready to go. We have I've kind of been waiting because we have the NFL schedule released tomorrow. So like some of the stuff in the draft guide pertains to the NFL schedule. So I've kind of been waiting for that last key element. We know the opponents. We just don't know the weeks that they play, that can impact that early season strength of schedule, stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's ready to go. So go get it. It's awesome. We're pretty proud of it. We've all put a lot of work into it. So go check it out.
Incredible. And go out there and follow Jacob Rhodes at FGRhodesFF and Jesse at Deppy Rookie Watch. Know about these guys before anyone else really actually should know their names because Jesse is a sicko like that. Friends, say goodbye to the friends at home.
See everybody.
Peace.